But your local law enforcement agency is probably lead here, because I believe, if I'm seeing these cruisers correctly when we get a close-up look, these appear to be Loudoun County cruisers. Yeah. So they're obviously running lead here. But they do train on this. Law enforcement trains on pursuit, and they train on multi-jurisdictional pursuit, Wendy and Chris, where they figure out how do they deploy together. Because often when you have a pursuit, it goes through county lines, it goes through municipal lines. So law enforcement is quite good at training on how to work together in high-speed situations.
See, I knew you would know more about that. But I'm sure that being on a motorcycle, going after a motorcyclist, is more of a challenge. And what about when they put those strips out across the road that blow their tires? I know that's tricky because you got to make sure you're way up ahead of them and that the person doesn't see you do it, because especially this guy, as nimble as he is. When it comes to, again,
my reporting's been on dirt bikes, which are obviously smaller and more vulnerable than motorcycles, but I know one of the reasons they have a no pursuit policy for dirt bikes is because you can't do things like that, Wendy. You can't use stop strips. You can't use some of the deterrents you often use in other high-speed pursuits. This may be trying to thread the needle here. We have a motorcycle, not as small and vulnerable as a dirt bike, but also not as sturdy and perhaps stop strip-able as a vehicle.
Right, especially with someone who, as you said, is negotiating all of the different roads out there and negotiating the traffic, whether it's been stopped. I've seen him go through intersections where he doesn't have the light, and he's able to still, as you said, just thread the needle of the cars going through, and bam, then he hits it and floors it.
I think people who commonly travel Route 7 in Loudoun County would tell you this bears no resemblance to traditional 5:35 p.m. traffic on Route 7 on a weeknight. This is far from rush hour. It's the nature of Veterans Day. It's the nature of a federal holiday. Of course, that gives openings for a pursuit. When you have a lesser traffic volume, you've got more potential and more flexibility to move through. But I believe we've been told by law enforcement they've been doing some blockades in certain areas on traffic to mitigate and minimize the risk to other drivers.
Yeah, we've seen that, Scott, where at times the driver is just driving unimpeded on relatively empty stretches of road. So you can see that there are points where police have been able to stop traffic and block it off.
He's about to, Chris, I believe he's about to pass an interchange for on-ramps to Route 15. So you're getting into that area of Loudoun County. If I know Loudoun County well, when you get closer to Route 15 and 7, you're getting to heavier volume areas. You're getting to more populous areas, have more trafficked areas.
Okay, I'm hearing from our technical director, Tripp, to ask about a pit maneuver. Do you know what that is?
No, but we'll try to find that out.
Well, maybe we should go interview Tripp in the control room.
Well, you can see right there, you can see that heavier traffic that Scott was just talking about, and you can see he has slowed down considerably compared to the speeds that he was at just a couple minutes ago. I'm not sure if there's any communication between some of the officers who are in pursuit and the motorcycle driver himself, but it appears to be that he is slowing down and the officers are slowly trailing him as he moves through this area, and he's just past that light, and there he goes again, making a left-hand turn and now going the opposite way once again. We saw this just about 5 minutes ago.
Pit maneuver, Wendy, would be a way where you force the operator of the vehicle being pursued to go sideways. Perhaps not to spill, but to take a sideways maneuver, which obviously stops you, at least momentarily, and gives law enforcement an opportunity to try to pin you against a door or just stop you by hand. So a pit maneuver would actually try to force you to go perpendicular to the way you want to go.
Well, my goodness, now I'm wondering why they're not trying a pit maneuver.
Motorcycles do change the game.
Yeah, you can see the difference in how nimble he is. When he gets to some of these intersections where there's a tremendous amount of traffic, he's just riding the lanes. I mean, he's cutting right down the middle, whereas some of the cruisers have to go around that traffic. So, it's definitely a different situation than if they were, in pursuit of a car that could get blocked up at some of these congested areas.
He's about to approach a pretty sharp turn here, and there's going to have to be, with the way law enforcement's kind of husbanded next to him, he's going to have to try something relatively daring to get around this next turn. I think you're about to see it. You see, they're pushing him to the left turn only lane. Look how sharp this is.
Hey, that's
up, around.
Now, call me crazy, but what would happen if they just gave up this pursuit? They have his license and just caught up with him later rather than allowing this to create this kind of havoc over over all these miles in the community. What's the protocol on that? What if everybody just went back to their business and they went to his house and caught him later?
Though we were told that this was initiated because of a traffic stop or something that happened during a traffic stop, it's hard to know the other mitigating factors law enforcement saw during that traffic stop. Pursuits that begin with traffic stops often having what they call amplifying factors, other things that might have caused them to want to pursue. So it's hard to make that determination now. He certainly seems to be going in either concentric circles or kind of retouching old ground here. We're seeing the same landmarks as this continues on and on.
Yeah, he's back on Route 7 again. As you said, he's almost sort of clover leafing through the highway system out there. He's now traveling east on Route 7 again.
And when he goes east on Route 7, he does leave himself vulnerable to hitting a volume of traffic. We've seen that there are cars that move up in this spot, and it slows him down, but it also changes the complexion of the situation for law enforcement.
Well, I think because I think it's almost easier for him when he has traffic.
Now stand by here. We're about to see some activity in the next 20 to 30 seconds. He's going to hit that volume of traffic. You see it there. He gets caught up, and either he's about to give up on the vehicle or he's out of fuel. So
I was going to ask how long a motorcycle goes before it runs out of gas.
Stand by for this. I'm watching this a bit ahead of you, so he's about to surrender this, but I want to make sure we want to show what's about to happen. You see him here slowing down. His speed is obviously decelerated. He pulls aside voluntarily, and these are empty lanes, and he's about to stop.
Oh, you're right. It looks like he's on empty.
He's calling it a day. You'll see cruisers come in from both directions.
He's kneeling on the. He's lying.
Yeah, he knows exactly what to do. He's got his arms out.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as if he prepared the choreography of a surrender.
You have to tip your hat to law enforcement. I know that there are policies in terms of, did they pull somebody over for a felony offense? Was it a DUI? So I know some of that are mitigating circumstances as to, how and when they pursue. But you definitely have to tip your hat because they are obviously balancing the